Well, what do you make of the concerns that have emerged with regard to like these GLP-1 agonists, for example, like semaglutide or Ozempic, that when you take them, the weight that you lose is indiscriminate. There's the potential for lean mass loss.
Well, so in my initial statement is always, what a bunch of bullshit. And, these are people that just aren't educated enough to say things, or they're trying to use they're trying to get in on something and say things that they just haven't done enough work in looking at. And that's my initial statement, which is wrong, and I shouldn't say that, right? But I'm very honest and open about my thoughts. And the good response should be, hey, that's great, because people should be thinking about this, because any diet you have, I don't care what kind of diet it is, you're always losing muscle mass, right? It doesn't matter. I don't care what it is. You're always going to, if people look into this, it's always something I've been fighting forever with anything I've ever done with people. When they're losing weight, it's very, very easy to potentially lose muscle mass. So you have to have the steps in place to say, okay, well, if I know that's happening, are there things I can do to avoid losing muscle, right? We call it sarcopenia. We don't want to lose muscle. Muscle is metabolic currency, right? It's huge. It makes our myokines, our exerkines, there's over 500 different myokines, exerkines that we don't even know yet that are of significant value that we're trying to study, right? We know about 90 of them right now. And the focus here is that you got to get in the amount of protein that's important in maintaining muscle. And you also have to emphasize that, guess what? Resistance exercise is very important during any weight loss process, because it turns on certain signaling, it turns off myostatin, it turns off certain signaling agents that cause muscle loss, because the body's trying to compensate for loss. And that autophagy thing I talked about, it's cleaning the cell. And it's trying to be efficient, but if you're not going to give it its tools like protein, amino acids to maintain, you're not helping the signaling. You're not doing things that you need to do. So that's with any weight loss program. But what's really unique about GLP-1s is they actually, so you're going to be more sick. What I'm going to say is, all these people talking about muscle loss and stuff with weight loss, absolutely true. It's just, it's okay, we already know that. We knew that 100 years ago. This is where I get upset, is people don't realize that GLP-1s actually work in a signaling profile to stop muscle loss. One of the very few signaling agents that has that ability to turn off atrophy genes, specific ones that I would dull your people with, but that are specific to stopping muscle loss. Now, you can have all that best signaling, but if you're not going to get the protein in, it's still going to happen.
Right. So you can counter the potential for muscle catabolism with keeping your protein intake high and resistance training. Because when in a and correct me if I'm wrong, but when in a calorie deficit, your body's like, okay, we can ditch the fat, which is our energy store for the future famine that may or may not arrive, or we can ditch this highly metabolically expensive tissue like our muscle. And unless you give your body the signal that we need to hold on to the muscle with regular hypertrophic stimulus, i.e. like resistance training, then that's what it'll ditch, right? Because your body essentially thinks it's going to ultimately starve to death with a prolonged calorie deficit.
Absolutely. And it's going to go after preferred protein and break the protein down into amino acids as a source of energy. So it wants that. All you have to do is you got to meet the needs of the right nutrients, the right substrates at the time of what you're trying to achieve, understanding what this signaling process is going to do to advantage the patient. And then you have, So I have people that use GLP-1s to gain muscle, to build muscle, but to build good muscle.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's because what I'm doing with the GLP-1, what it's beside. So I'm taking advantage of what it can do for maintaining muscle and actually building muscle. But I'm also taking it's like for if you're taking advantage of what this autophagy aspect and truly it gets down to this beta oxidation of fat, you're increasing the body's ability to utilize its own fat as its primary energy source, because that's what's happening with this metabolic change. It's going to use fat to make more efficient ATP and NAD. And it's why people go through initially, they have a real metabolic change. I always tell people, hey, at the beginning, you're going to feel fatigue, you're going to feel tired, because it's almost like you're running these marathons because the body's changing.
Yeah.
But the energy, once you get that switch on and it truly is in that beta oxidation and you're getting that right amount of protein, it's incredible. The energy levels are amazing for people. And it's understanding that I think really makes a difference, and then taking advantage. So if you know that's happening, then there's other things you can add into that to take advantage of adding more energy or doing more to work on muscle mass. So it comes down to timing. It comes down to understanding the patient. It comes down to understanding what are you doing.
Yeah.
And so GLP-1s, what other people don't realize is that GLP-1s have specific effects on osteoblasts and osteoclasts. They actually increase bone mass. Are you kidding me? I mean, increase Dr. Seed. You're telling me I can increase muscle mass, I can increase bone mass? The answer is yes. That's a powerful message when you're doing something to be more in a catabolic state of losing, but it's catabolic efficiency, and then taking advantage of what you can do on the other side of that with the anabolism of building muscle and the other aspects of what a GLP-1 can do to signal. It's a pleiotropic, meaning has many pathways it works. And so I've just brought up bone, I've brought up muscle, I haven't brought up brain yet, I haven't brought up, I mean, there's anti-inflammatory pathways. So interesting story here is GLP-1s, originally we were studying for neurodegenerative problems, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
That's where it started.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, GLP-1, we have GLP-1 receptors in our microglial cells, in our astrocytes. This is where actually the research has gone back here now for where this is going to go with more in the neurodegenerative world, which I think is going to be tremendous.
So what are the neurologic benefits then of GLP-1 agonists?
So that's a great question. Let's take it like this. So the problem with, let's say, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, any kind of neurodegenerative disease is always this buildup of fibular proteins that just don't get, they either become, they're amyloid plaques, or they're Lewy bodies, or they're alpha-synuclein. They're things that just glob up, right? Well, remember that word autophagy?
Yeah.
Autophagy is what cleans those up. It's what cleans up those fibular proteins. It's just imagine like a Pac-Man in there going around and just removing stuff. Well, in these neurodegenerative diseases, when the cell loses its efficiency, remember I talked about flexibility and how it uses fat or glucose, it changes its metabolism so it becomes less efficient, and it loses that ability to control autophagy efficiently. And remember, the brain is on all the time, and it demands efficiency. So that's why it's one of the first things to go, because it loses those aspects of efficiency. Well, what if you could improve autophagy? What if you could improve the ability of the cell to be prepared and be more flexible and clean itself up? Well, then you've got some things happening, right? You're solving some problems that people have been working on for a very long time, and it's very interesting because this is having real relevance now, and I use it very aggressively in neurodegenerative patients, and I'm very successful with it.
Wow!
And it's got all the science behind it. So it's not like I've discovered anything. I'm just a guy who reads a lot and knows how to put some things together and how to utilize it for the benefit of what I've been focused on for 40 years. Amazing. And that's cell efficiency, that's cell.
Hey, if you liked that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.